In this video, we are going to talk about for loops. So a for loop has the following form. It starts with the keyword for, and then inside parentheses, there's actually three different statements. The first statement is the initializer. The second is a condition. And the third one is the updater. So the initializer generally is setting up the variable that will control the loop. So if you remember and you have watched the while loop videos, I said there's basically three things that you have to do. Set up a variable that's going to control the loop, use that variable in the condition, and then third, update that variable in the loop body. So in the for loop, those three things are encapsulated in the loop header. Okay? So the initializer usually sets up the variable, and that is only done once at the beginning of the for loop. Okay? Then the condition is evaluated. Remember, the condition, just like with the while and the do while loop, is a Boolean expression. So it results in either a true or false value. If the condition is true, then the code block will get executed. So whatever statement's in here will get performed. After the last line in the code block is performed, the updater will get performed. And that usually updates the value of the variable that controls the loop. Then the condition will get checked again. Okay? If the condition is ever false, then the loop is over, right? And it will go to the next line that's after the for loop. Okay? So initializer gets done once, then the condition is checked. If it's true, then it's code block, then updater, then back to the condition. So as long as it's true, that cycle will keep going. Condition is checked, the code block gets done, the updater gets done, the condition is checked. If the condition is ever false, well then that's it. It moves on to the next line after the for loop. Okay? All right, let's take a look at a standard for loop. So in the standard for loop, here is the loop header. This part here is the initializer. And so you can see that looks an awful lot like the statement that I had before the while and the do while loops. It just sets up this variable, the variable that you are going to control the loop with. In this case, it's I. Okay. Next up is the condition, I less than 11. And then this is the updater. In the updater, you see some new notation. This I++ is basically short for this statement, I equals I plus 1. So what it does is it increases the value of the variable I by 1. Okay. Related to that is also this, I minus minus. It is short for I equals I minus 1. There's also some other ones like I plus equals. And then an expression over here. This is short for I equals I plus whatever the expression is there. Okay? So for instance, if I had I plus equals 5, that would be short for I equals I plus 5. So this statement, either one of these, will increase the value of the variable I by 5. Okay, so that's kind of useful if you want to go up by 5s in your loop or whatever else. If you want to go up by 1s, this is one of the most common ones you see. If you want to go down by 1, this is one that you'll see, and there shouldn't be that dot after that. There we go. Okay. Now you don't have to use those, but they do provide convenient shortcuts. Okay. If you remember, we said with the while loop, you use the while loop when you have to repeat a block of code when you do not know how many times that you need to repeat the loop body. With the for loop, it's kind of the opposite. If you know exactly how many times you need to repeat it, then I would just use a for loop. Okay, and a for loop will be critical moving on to some of the other things that we have to talk about, like arrays and strings. All right, let's take a look at this for loop example. All right, in the for loop example, I'm just going to go ahead and run it so you can see the action first. All right, so here I have 3 examples of for loops. You can see that loop 1 is just basically counting up by ones from 0 to 10. All right, loop 2 is counting down from 10 to 1 by ones. And then loop 3 is counting up by 3 from 0 to 9. All right, so let's take a look at loop 1. You can see it here. For int I equals 0, I less than 11, I plus plus, which is the one that was in the slides. And so you can see the value of the variable I starts off with 0. You can see that reflected here. Okay, so I is 0, it will run this statement, right? And print out loop 1, the value of I is 0. And then I will get increased by 1, okay? And it will just kind of cycle through that. All right, so let's run this in Canvas so you can get a decent picture of what it looks like. Okay, so here I'm going to start the for loop. And so you can see the initializer was run, and the variable I got set up. It got set up to be 0, right? And then it checked this condition. Is 0 less than 11? It sure is, right? So you can see it will print the value of I is 0. So notice how I use that variable I in here to get that 0 right here. All right, that was the last line, right, of the loop body. So it's going to do this updater here, and you're going to see the value of I increase to 1. So it increases the value of I to 1. It checks this condition. Is 1 less than 11? Yes, it is. So it prints out, does the loop body again. The loop body is done. The updater runs. It checks the condition right now. So the updater updates I to 2, right? And it checks the condition. Is 2 less than 11? And it just kind of runs in that cycle. It's going to print this out, update, check, run this, update, check. So I'm just going to kind of fast forward a little bit, and you can see it's just bumping the value of I up by 1. All right, now the value of I is 10. Okay. So that's the last line. It's going to print the value of I is 10. That's the last line in the loop body. It goes to the updater. You're going to see the updater is going to increase this to 11. When it checks this condition, 11 is less than 11 is a false statement. So you're going to see it's going to jump down to line 11. As soon as this becomes false, right, the loop is over. All right, next, and so it's on to the next loop. In the next loop, right, the value of I is set to 10 by the updater, okay? And it checks the condition. Is I greater than 0? Yes, it is, right? Because 10 is greater than 0. So it does the loop body. There's only one statement in the loop body, right? So it does that statement. Where does it go from there? It goes to the updater, right? The updater subtracts 1, I minus minus. So you're going to see this become 9. It checks, is 9 greater than 0? Yes, it is, right? And does the loop body. And so it's going to cycle like that. All right, so now the value of I is 1. Okay, so it's going to print that out. Next up, the updater, I minus minus, is going to make this 1 less, so it'll be 0. All right, so you're going to see this turn to 0. Then it's going to check this condition. Is 0 greater than 0? Nope. right? So it's going to jump to line 19. So this statement's false, right? Jumps to line 19. Okay. And loop 3, it's going to start at 0. So you're going to see this initialized to 0. Checks the condition, is 0 less than 11? That's true, right? So it's going to do the loop body. Print out the value of I as 0. All right, and then I have I plus equals 3. So remember that's short for I equals I plus 3. So the effect is it's going to add 3 to the variable each time. Okay, and checks to see, is 3 less than 11? Sure it is, right? And it just keeps cycling just like before. All right, so now the value of the variable I is 9. Okay, the loop body has already been executed, so it's going to jump up here, update, run the updater, right? So that will increase the value of I to 12. And then it's going to check the condition. Is 12 less than 11? No, right? It's not, and so it's going to jump past the loop. Actually, you never did get to see it updated, but it does do that, okay? All right, and that's it. All right, so I think that is it on the for loop. Okay, and so we will stop this video there.